If a little green is good, more is even better. Now, back to Green is Good with John Shigarian and Mike Brady.
Welcome back to Green is Good, and we're so excited today to have Gina Edner on from New York City, New York, my hometown. Gina's the Associate Director of Environmental Sustainability for Starwood Hotels, my favorite brand of hotels. And let me just give a disclaimer. They are not an advertiser. We have no economic interest in Starwood, but we love their brand. Welcome to Green is Good, Gina Edner.
Thank you so much for having me on this show. I'm so excited to share with you what we've done at Starwood and why we think this is such an important issue. We really have about 1,000 hotels now in 100 countries. And we're realizing this creates real opportunities to influence everyday choices across the globe for our guests and associates.
Well, you're so right, Gina, because when I started traveling for Electronic Recyclers International, a recycling company, it was about 5 years ago when I realized I had a lot of travel ahead of me, and Westin had just about then changed their policy to be the first hotel to go smoke-free. And I then said, I'm going to become a Western person. I signed up for your SPG.com as soon as I learned about it. And SPG.com to me has become and is the greatest affinity program right now in the world. But I want to learn more about, besides the no smoking, how this whole process evolved, how you joined Starwood, and how this whole greening of the Starwood Hotel brands, all of your great brands, has evolved over the years. So please share, what's the motivation besides no smoking, how this whole process evolved?
Sure. So for us, this probably started about 3 or 4 years ago after we had the no smoking policy.
Yeah.
We actually started getting a lot more requests from our corporate customers that were going way beyond no smoking, and they were asking tough questions. They were asking us things like, do you have a policy around environmental sustainability? Do you recycle? Do you have high-efficiency lighting in your hotels? Do you have green meeting services? We're realizing, it's starting to really influence their purchasing decisions and who they're going to stay with and who they're giving their business to. So we had that, and then we also had owner-developers approaching us. Starwood doesn't own a lot of hotels. We manage and franchise. So we have a lot of owner-developers that were asking us how would they build one of our hotels a little bit more sustainable. Some of them had to comply with emerging local regulations. Some of them were just interested in building or operating more efficiently, and they wanted to know how they're going to do that with one of our brands.
Gotcha.
And then,
Go on.
Yeah, and then we also had hotels that were, our existing hotels having such a big portfolio. They were already doing a lot, but they really were looking for more guidance from us to do even more and more resources to do this.
And so we know then so you started seeing by listening to your clients what the problems were and what some of their concerns were. How do you then take all that information and start narrowing it down and prioritizing? How do you set tangible goals that can be achieved and start creating the process of making Starwood the greatest sustainability hotel chain in the world?
So that's a great question. We actually started by conducting a field survey. We're trying to see what are the initiatives that our hotels are already doing. And we learned quickly there's a lot going on in the hotels. However, we didn't really have consistency on what was happening. So what we did is we captured kind of proven practices, what was happening in the hotels, and then we also identified areas where we might need to increase our efforts a little bit.
Okay.
And taking those, we developed a policy, we developed a global program, and we kind of went on our way. And we did set some more tangible goals. We obviously operate hotels around the world, and they use water, they use energy, they produce waste every day.
Right.
And we do also source a lot of products for these hotels. So that is an obvious goal for us. We want to, reduce the impact. We should reduce the impact of our practices on the environment.
Right.
But then, another one really is we are in the business of customer service, and
Sure.
what we do best is providing a great guest experience. And, some of our guests expect to, stay in environmentally conscious hotels when they're traveling. And what we want to do is provide products and services that meet those needs. They want to be able to stay green, so let's let them stay, in a greener hotel.
Got it.
So that's kind of how we focus our efforts. And then just recently we announced actual reduction goals. So we are pledging to reduce our energy by 30% and our water by 20% by the year 2020. A little aggressive, but we do think we can do it. So we're pretty excited about that.
Okay, and I want to learn though how, give us a little taste of the process, how you're going to achieve those goals, but also how about waste? How much of the waste will you be reducing by 2020? Do you have a goal there also?
We haven't set an official goal for waste yet,
right?
But we're working on it. So one of the things that has been a challenge for us is to get actual waste numbers from our hotels.
Gotcha.
In order to set a goal, we have to have a baseline.
Well,
and a lot of the waste haulers have not been providing us traditionally with good numbers. So something we're focusing on, and we'll hopefully have something in the next 12 months.
Great. And to that issue, though, I have to say, in some of your hotel rooms that I stay in, there's actually already a blue recycling bin. You actually use a recycling waste bin in some of the hotels. So I know you're already moving in that direction.
Yes, we definitely have initiatives that address minimizing waste. We have, providing recycling bins in guest rooms and public areas. We are trying to source more sustainable products that don't have so much packaging, maybe compost when it's available. So we'll have quite a few initiatives that address minimizing our waste. We just haven't set an official goal.
So Gina, let's go back to energy and water then. Those are great big goals, and we applaud you for that. Share with our listeners, what's a little bit of the process of how are you going to go about achieving the 30% waste, the energy reduction by 2020 and 20% water reduction by 2020 in your great hotel chain?
It's actually a combination of what we're going to do. There's some low-hanging fruit, there's operational practices, making sure we turn off the lights, we put the set points of, thermostats back at what they should be when a guest leaves. We change out the light bulbs, incandescent light bulbs, to put in more, high compact fluorescents or LED lights. We started putting in faucet aerators. Most guests don't even know if you have a faucet aerator in, because most guests don't, nobody really turns the faucet all the way up, because all that happens is it splashes you.
Right.
So, things like that. But then also just, making sure that when we irrigate at our properties, we don't spray half the sidewalk, or we overspray so much that there's huge puddles. It's really simple things that we are starting with. And then we're looking at kind of where we need to invest some capital. There's some great innovative technology out there. We do need to invest capital, so that will be our next step. And, and there's also just innovative solutions that we're starting to play with that are out there, whether or not that's, renewable energy systems, or that's an energy management system that we can install in our guest rooms. So it's a kind of a combination approach for us to get to that 2020 goal.
Gotcha. Gina, the green revolution has become a very fascinating trend and opportunity, both here in the United States and around the world. And a lot of revolutions start from the ground up. But what Mike and I have learned on this show are great brands like yours and Walmart and other amazing international brands. When great brands make decisions to go green, to go sustainable, it really moves the needle. What's fascinating to Mike and I want our listeners to learn this from you, is the issue of communication with over 1,000 properties in about 100 countries and 145,000 employees or so. How do you get buy-in? How do you get to communicate this sustainability message and your goals to your associates and colleagues around the world, so you get everybody on board and you get them bought in to this process?
So I would love to say that everybody's just so bought into the environmental realm as some of us. However, for a lot of it, it starts with making the business case.
Yeah.
There's definitely significant operational savings when you implement green operation initiatives.
Yeah.
And, since we don't own so many hotels, the majority are managed and franchise hotels. So getting, any savings that we do incur from making these changes go directly back to the ownership group. That's a pretty winning argument when you think about it.
Sure.
So especially when you don't have to invest so much up front.
So you've highly incentivized the local ownership then.
Yes, we do. And we even, beyond just making the business case, we are trying to incentivize, by providing other incentives or recognition within within Starwood in general. So that could be marketing funds, that could be awards and recognition programs. So we're really trying to incentivize. There's a little bit of a stick approach, but mostly the carrot and stick approach seems to be a lot more successful for us.
Interesting. So now what's the flip side of that? How do you engage your guests then in this process? So not only are they excited because they're guests in your hotels and you are in the service industry, but that they also participate and start changing their behavior that they maybe even learned in your hotels.
That's actually interesting. Our guests, as long as we make it easy for them to participate, they want to do it. But that means, we do need to provide the recycling bins in a guest room or in a public area. So if you're finishing your soda can, you don't want to go, hunting down a recycling bin. You want to be able to find one pretty quickly. We are providing preferred parking for hybrid and fuel-efficient cars. But most important is, while we're doing all these initiatives, we still make sure we provide a great guest experience.
Right.
If you're staying in one of our hotels, you don't want to stand under a shower that is water efficient, but you can't get the shampoo out of your hair.
Right.
Then you have a bad guest experience, and you might not come back. So
fascinating. So you balance both the great guest experience that you used to give with your new sustainability initiatives.
Yes, absolutely. And the reality is that our guests want to feel pampered, and they want to feel taken care of, and they want to stay in a great hotel while they're staying with us.
Sure. Hey, let's switch and talk a little bit about what one of your true babies, the new Element Hotel brand that Starwood created to be a sustainable brand. Explain your involvement with it. What's the entire story behind it? And and why, when I was online the other day, and again, this is not an advertisement because Starwood is not an advertiser of Green is Good. Why has it become so successful? I saw the other day when they were rating new hotel chains, it got the highest rating, a 4-star rating. So explain the genesis and where you've come with that great new hotel chain.
Yeah, absolutely right. The Element is a great example of balancing the interests of a guest with environmental consciousness. We actually call Element our eco-chic brand. And it's the first brand for us that really embraces a comprehensive green program, from the way we build it to the way we operate it. And interestingly enough, a lot of the things we do, you probably won't notice necessarily. And that's really on purpose. So we build it with much more environmentally friendly products, making sure we have recycled content in it, but also that it doesn't, smell or off gas so much. For example, everybody kind of knows when you paint your house or you buy a new car, you have that smell, the chemical smell, which is actually materials that are off-gassing over time.
Yeah.
Sometimes they give you headaches,
Oh, yeah.
And when you walk into a newly built Element, you don't have that smell. It's not there, and we'll make sure it also doesn't come into there. So we have a green cleaning program that makes sure there's not more chemicals introduced. There's much more environmentally friendly. And then an amazing thing that you can't really measure is with Element, we try to have a really positive effect for experience for our guests, but also associates. So one of the things we did is we introduced a lot of daylight. So virtually anywhere in the hotel that you might be, regularly occupying, you have a lot of access to daylight. And our guests, and as well as our associates, really love that. They want to be connected to the environment, to the nature outside. They maybe just want to see what the weather is like. And the interesting part about that is, while we're making them feel good, it also reduces our energy costs because with more daylight, you don't have as much need for other lighting. Mm-hmm. So it does save the energy as well.
That's a win.
Love that kind of stuff.
That's a win for the hotel. It's a win for the client. And it's a win for the environment. That's a triple win.
You're absolutely correct. And you mentioned already, Element is becoming rated so highly. It's amazing. Even within the Starwood network, we have guest satisfaction index, so we kind of look at how our hotels, doing. Element has the highest one of all of our brands. And this is a select service brand. There's not like a lot of restaurants. You don't have a spa. I mean, it's limited services that you get in, while you're staying at the Element. Great services. However, it's not a full service brand. But nonetheless, it's so well received. It's just amazing. He definitely did it right.
Well, wait. Let's stop there, Gina. I want our listeners to understand this. And Mike, I want you to hear this. Gina's very humble. She was the lead designer on the Element brand.
Wow.
And the Element brand has really become Starwood's green trailblazing brand. And in fact, their first hotel, which was built in Lexington, Massachusetts, won the Gold Lead Construction Award in December 2008. So Gina, this is truly your baby. And you were designing all these things that you say that are now part of the element of elements. You were really there putting these pieces together.
Yes, I was. And, it's very dear and close to my heart, and I like to go back as much as I can, and I do. It's a fantastic hotel to stay in. I mean, there's many hotels we have in the Boston area.
Yeah.
I usually, choose to stay at the Element.
So tell us, so how many Elements are there now? The first was built in Lexington. How many exist now?
We have about 7 hotels currently open, with a few more under construction. So we have one in Houston, I believe. I actually think it's the number 1 hotel in Houston, rated on TripAdvisor, funny enough. We have a hotel in Denver, Colorado, and in Summerlin, Las Vegas. So kind of across the continental U.S. at this point.
Got it. And what have you learned from Element that you've been able to then leverage that information and knowledge into your entire portfolio? What was learned in the process and learned since the launch in terms of what really excites the guests and what are they enjoying that you've then be able to take it across your entire portfolio?
So from Element, we really did gather a lot of good information. Most of all, that we could build a greener brand, a more sustainable brand that our guests really love. I mean, that is fantastic,
Right.
There were things that we implemented, like dual flush toilets. We were a little nervous about dual flush toilets in the guest rooms, but they work fine, Sustainable material choices that we've made, during the construction. The green cleaning program we have now implemented in all of our hotels. So there's many, many items that we have already implemented and are leveraging across the entire portfolio. But then, we're even continuing. Element kind of stays as our little innovative lab. We're trying out new things. So we're trying out an energy management system right now at Element, and that seems to be very promising. So we're starting to kind of look at other brands where we might be implying that. So,
yeah, Gina, we had someone on from Roto-Rooter.
Roto-Rooter, yeah.
Several shows back. They were talking about the home edition of the dual flush system. Now, that's kind of a novel concept for a lot of people. What has the feedback been from your guests on the dual flush? Do they comment on that?
It was interesting. We actually haven't had a lot of comments on it, to be honest. It was a little more, because it is a transient person that stays in the rooms. We talked about how do we educate the guests.
Right.
What do we say? Which button to push? Number 1 and number 2, or how do you? I mean, so it's an interesting concept, but we have, and we were a little nervous because you don't want the toilet to clog, especially in the hospitality, But we have not had any problems. The toilets are performing just as well. Our guests seem to get it. The water savings are proven for us. So it's one of those things we were nervous about, but it really has worked.
And you've already noticed a water savings at the property.
Yes, we really have. We went back late last year after the property had been open for about a year, and we looked at all the utility bills because there's always a difference between building green and then actual performance of a building. But the Element, Lexington at least, has been performing the way what we were expecting. So that's great success for us.
How about when so Element is growing. It's been a massive success, and now you're leveraging that information into your other brands. give us a little visibility. We're down to the last few minutes or so. Give us a little visibility on what's on tap for Starwood's green future. What's about to happen?
So we feel like a lot of the lower-hanging fruit we have tried to at least put into our program, so it's being implemented currently. So now we're really looking at what's the next gen initiatives for us. You know? They may require a little bit more capital, but they usually have a pretty good return on investment story behind them.
Right.
So we're looking at our hotels. There's a lot of hotels that are already trying out, innovative solutions. Those are really like real-life examples for us. We can see what the environmental benefit is. We can see what the economic benefit is. So we're really looking at, leveraging from our hotels the proven practices. And then we're piloting some other solutions, as we're being approached by vendors. We're trying them out, seeing what's next. Can we push the envelope even a little bit further? Some of our hotels are installing electric car charging stations right now, or, they're installing wind turbines on the roof. So there's a lot of new things that are coming. They're becoming much more feasible, especially with the increased cost of energy. So we're hoping to kind of take that to the next level and really start innovating, because that's one of the things we do best is innovation.
Gotcha.
So really doing that for us will be probably, and then engaging the guests more and educating. Education is a huge part, educating the guests, educating our associates and the community.
Well, Gina, a lot of we have a lot of listeners around the world, and we get emails all the time after they hear a great and wonderful and inspiring guest like you. And a lot of people email us are in college or in grad school, and they want to be the next Gina Edner. As we close our show today, do you have some pearls of wisdom for our listeners out there who want to be the next Gina Edner, how they can get involved with the green revolution like you are, leading it?
I think one of the things I do is I listen a lot. There's a lot of great stories out there. Yep. I mean, my background is not environmental sustainability. I come from architecture and design.
Okay.
And I listen to all the innovative stories that are out there, what is happening. And I'm very passionate. Passion gets you pretty far. If you're passionate about it and if you want to learn, because it's such an emerging field, you can definitely, make that your focus area. So I believe that's really the key to this. It's an emerging, discipline. Listen, learn as much as you can, and, be passionate about it.
Well, Gina, we are so thankful for your time today. You were tremendously informational and inspirational. You've proven to us that Starwood is truly the hospitality innovator, and we're so proud to have you on, because Starwood is the green trailblazer in the hospitality industry. I know this personally. I've spent over 100 nights this year already in Starwood Hotels around the world, and you guys are just doing a tremendous job. I want our listeners who have gotten excited about this show to please go to look at Starwood's great website, starwoodhotels.com, or one of the greatest affinity programs in the world, spg.com. Gina Edner, we are so thankful for your time today, and you are truly living proof that green is good.
Thank you so much. It's been a pleasure.
This program will be available for downloading in a couple of days from our station's website, keyword podcast. Thanks for listening, and join us again next week at the same time for another edition of Green is Good.